Nerd shit warning. The following video contains nerd shit. Do not watch this video if you do not like nerd shit.
Hi, my handle's Lord of Emeralds, and I have a great fondness for heavy rock music from the 90s and 2000s. I'm also a musician and a guitar tone nerd. You can probably tell because I'm sitting right beside a guitar and I have a wall of amplifiers behind me. And there's a lot of guitar tones out there. Clean tones, dirty tones, crunch tones, distorted tones, fuzz tones, ambient tones. I have this really cool pedal for ambient tones right here. It's called a Boss Terra Echo. Probably the most unique delay pedal I've ever found, but that's besides the point. I'm not here to talk about clean tones or ambient tones. I'm here to talk about big, loud, stupid, distorted tones. Specifically, the ones that were used in heavy rock music and nu metal from the late 90s and early 2000s. In this video, I'm going to talk about why these tones are fun, how you can get them yourself, and what type of equipment is used to make them, and what their characteristics are. The catalyst for this video was this new distortion pedal that I got recently. It's called a Boss Mega Distortion. I'm pretty sure this is a little known Boss pedal because I've never seen it before. The tone that this thing puts out really makes you want to like jam on some, drop day corn riffs or something like that. So that's what gives me the inspiration to make this video. And, also the elephant in the room, the last video I put out kind of did some numbers. So, thank you for that. That's really incredible. Thank you for watching that thing. And I'm sorry to disappoint you by coming back with some nerd shit. But it's vaguely related to the topic. Hopefully you'll find it interesting. So yeah, let's go. Let's have some fun with guitar stuff and hopefully not bore you to death. So right now, if you're a little bit of a nerd, then you're probably thinking, oh yeah, he's going to talk about the Paul Reed Smith and he's going to talk about the Mesa Rectifier and all that. And I am going to get to that, but we've got to have a target to aim at first. We need to figure out what the late 90s and early 2000s heavy rock guitar sound is. And to help us out, I found a bunch of isolated guitar tracks from a bunch of popular nu metal and heavy rock songs at the time. So let's listen to them and see if we can find any commonality. Alright, I think I'm detecting a trend here. Let me strap on a guitar, fire up the amp, and I'll show you what I'm thinking. So what I'm hearing is that we've got a pretty bass-heavy, loose, undefined, kind of muddy-sounding, scooped, and very distorted tone. So let's see if this mega distortion that I mentioned at the beginning of the video can get us in that ballpark. Let me show you how I've got it set up. So I've got the tone and the bottom knobs boosted, which are a high frequency and a low frequency control respectively. So that's going to give you a nice V-shaped frequency spectrum, scoop out the mids. Distortion controls up all the way. Gain boost, we don't need that. It's unbelievable, this thing has a gain boost. So I'm going to turn it on and see what I get. Oh yeah, this is exactly what I wanted. Now you might be thinking to yourself, hey, Lord of Emeralds, first of all, you have a stupid handle. Second, that just sounds like a normal distorted guitar tone. What makes this so special? Let me leave the mega distortion behind and switch over to the big amp, and I'll show you. Alright, the big amp's on. Let me speak to you for a moment about the nature of heavy rock and heavy metal guitar tones. So guitars are a mid-range instrument, right? That naturally means that you usually want to emphasize the mid-range, and you actually don't want that terribly much distortion. A lot of heavy rock and heavy metal guitar tones are a lot less distorted than you think they are. The reasoning behind that is so that the notes of the guitar can maintain their articulation without the dynamics completely being blown away. And if you get into playing like fast, technical metal stuff with lots of speed and like palm muting and all that, it's a very common practice to insert a weak overdrive pedal, such as a tube screamer, which is what I have set up right now, to reduce the bass frequencies coming into the amp, and also bring a little bit of the pick noise back so that you get that articulation even at high speeds with lots of distortion. So I've got the tube screamer before the amp, and I've got it set up for a pretty typical sort of mid-gain metal tone right now. The low and mid-range controls are almost at noon. The lows are boosted a little bit just to give it a little bit of extra punch. Gain is not too high. We're on the rhythm channel of the 6505, crunch is engaged, and the gain's at 6. I'm boosting the highs to give it a little bit of extra grind. Let's take a listen to how it sounds as it is. Pretty cool, right? That sounds pretty good, but there's a problem. It sounds too good. We need to bring it more into that late 90s, early 2000s territory. So we need more low frequencies, less mid-range, and less articulation. Just a huge wall of mud coming at you. So we're going to remove the tube screamer boost. Don't need that anymore. And switch over to the lead channel on the 6505, which offers a ridiculously large amount of distortion. Get rid of all the mids, turn the mids down all the way to 0, and boost the lows a whole bunch. Now you might be thinking, Lord of Emeralds, first, your name's stupid, change it. Second, why are you using a cheap guitar from a European music retailer and a PB6505? You should be using a PRS and a rectifier for this. After all, isn't that what all of those bands in the late 90s and early 2000s were using? Well, you're not wrong. My handle is stupid, and Paul Reed Smiths and rectifiers were very common among people who played this music. However, I don't think that the gear used to get the sound is as big of a piece to the puzzle as you might think it is. For starters, when you've got this much distortion on a guitar, the character of the guitar that you're playing starts to matter less and less because it's so distorted. 2, I might not have an actual Mesa rectifier amplifier, but I do have a Mesa rectifier cabinet, which is what you've been hearing. 3, the topology of the preamp of the PV6505 and the Mesa rectifier are actually kind of similar. They're both derivative of the Soldano SLO 100, so even though they obviously sound different, I feel like this amp should still be able to get in the same ballpark. Besides, this tone that I'm talking about is really just a family of tones. It's not one hyper-specific thing. It's just a vibe. General characteristics can get you there and evoke the same feeling. So let's hear how the new tone that I've dialed in sounds compared to the previous one. Like that panic chord that I threw in at the end there. Thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, this is definitely what I'm talking about. It's just this huge wall of mud coming at you. Ridiculous amounts of distortion. If you play guitar yourself and you have experience with guitar distortion, then you might be thinking to yourself right now, hang on a second, isn't this just the tone that everybody dials in when they first discover guitar distortion? You're right, that's basically what this thing is. You know, when you're first starting out on electric guitar, and you discover that distortion exists and you can apply it to your instrument, then for a little while it's all you can think about. You just want so much distortion. So, you know, you turn the distortion control on whatever you have up all the way, you turn the bass up all the way, you turn the mids down, and what comes out of your amp sounds like a really big and exciting sound. In many contexts on a recording, you know, it might fall apart because, you know, there's no dynamics, it's completely smashed, overly distorted, your articulation's gone, and the lack of mid-range might present problems if you're trying to make what you're playing stand out in a full band mix. But it's fun. And that's kind of the point of the tone that I'm talking about. It just gives you this uncontrollable urge to make stupid faces and dance around like you're made out of rubber. But that's not all. If we're talking about nu metal specifically, a big part of nu metal is weird guitar effects noises.
You are alone with no hope of ever having. You don't hear no crying ass bitching from me like there seems to be on everybody's CD. So in the dark, I have learned.
So we got to get some of those in there too. So what that mostly is just a lot of wah-wah going into a lot of distortion. You just get a simple riff going, some pick scratches, or a panic chord like a minor second, a diminished fifth, or an augmented fifth. And then it's just a bunch of distortion and wah-wah going into it. In order to demonstrate, since I don't have an actual wah-wah pedal, I'm going to do wah-wah from a Guitar Effects plugin. I'm going to run that out in reverse through a direct box out of my interface and into the amp, and then that's what you're going to hear. But that's not all that's going on. You can also use some modulation effects to bring the angst level to just that much higher. Drowning Pool, Bodies, they got that little lick. You put a phaser on that and it makes it sound like it's swooshing around. And the phaser can actually sound pretty cool going into distortion too. And if you want to make your panic chords or just your guitar overall sound more dissonant, then you can put a chorus on it and turn it up to excessively high levels. Awesome. Now we've got some insight as to the nature of late 90s and early 2000s heavy rock and nu metal guitar tones. But what good is this information if you can't apply it to your own music? So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to put together a little jam using what I've learned. I'm going to have two tones going at once. I'm going to have the mega distortion with the same settings that it had before. I'm going to have the 6505 on the lead channel with the same settings it had before. Going to run those two tones simultaneously, and I'm going to mix in the wah-wah on one of them. Should sound pretty cool. Let's hear it. know what? That was pretty fun. And that's hopefully what I want to get across with this video. Experimenting with guitar sounds and trying to reverse engineer different sounds that you like is fun. Well, at least it's fun for me, you know? And if you had fun watching me do this, and if you want to see me do more stuff like this in the future, then, you know, hit the subscribe button and watch out for my future uploads. And thanks once again to everybody who watched the kitty video. That was amazing to see how well that did and see the reception on that video. But I'm not in this YouTube game to get views. I just want to make videos about stuff that I'm passionate about. Mostly that has to do with music. And if my passion is able to reach through the screen and get somebody else interested enough to watch what I do, then that would be amazing. So that's what I'm going to continue to do on this channel. Hope you enjoyed this video. And again, look out in the future for more of them. There's going to be more like this. Till next time, everybody, I'm out of here.